Victoria Harrington wasn't just rich, she was a storm in human form. Perfectly coiffed blonde hair, designer gowns that cost more than most people's yearly salaries, and eyes that could make a grown man apologize for existing. Married to billionaire tech mogul Edward Harrington, she turned Seaview Heights into her personal playground of power. People crossed the street when they saw her coming. She once bankrupted a boutique owner just for selling a dress too similar to hers. Blacklisted an entire family because their teenage son accidentally scratched her Bentley. Politicians owed her favors, lawyers jumped at her calls, and her high-tea gossip sessions could end careers before dessert arrived. But behind the diamond armor, Victoria was empty. Edward was always away, buried in boardrooms and private jets, leaving her with a mansion that echoed like a tomb. Control became her oxygen. The only thing that made her feel alive, that's when Lily Thompson walked into the picture. 25 years old, fresh off a bus from a small Midwest town, carrying nothing but a worn backpack and a heart still bleeding from her mother's death. Cancer had taken everything: the house, the savings, and finally her mom. Lily came to Seaview Heights for a fresh start, working double shifts at the upscale Seaview Cafe to send money back to her ailing grandmother. She had warm brown eyes that actually saw people, an infectious smile that made strangers feel known, and a quiet strength forged in real hardship. On her first day, the other waitstaff warned her, "Whatever you do, don't cross Victoria Harrington. She's poison and pearls." Lily just nodded and kept working. She memorized orders, drew little smiley faces on kids' receipts, and treated every customer like they mattered. Because to her, they did. Then came the rainy afternoon that changed everything. Victoria stormed into the cafe, designer heels clicking like gunshots, demanding her usual window table. Problem was, a sweet elderly couple was already there, celebrating their 50th anniversary with trembling hands holding teacups. "Move them," Victoria snapped at the manager. "Now, or I'll have this pathetic place shut down by sunset." The manager, pale and sweating, started apologizing to the couple. But Lily, serving nearby, felt something snap inside her chest. She stepped forward with that calm, steady voice life had taught her to use in emergencies. "Ma'am, they're celebrating 50 years together. Maybe we could offer you our best table inside with complimentary dessert." Victoria turned slowly, her stare lethal. "Excuse me? Do you have any idea who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," Lily replied quietly. "And I know kindness when I see it. These people deserve their moment." The cafe went dead silent. Victoria's face twisted into something ugly. She unleashed a torrent of insults, calling Lily trash, a nobody, a pathetic server who should know her place. But Lily didn't flinch. She just smiled softly and whispered to the elderly couple, "Your meal is on me today. Happy anniversary." As Victoria stormed out, something extraordinary happened. The couple started clapping, then another table, then the entire cafe. Slow, steady applause for the new waitress who dared to stand up to the dragon. Word spread like wildfire through Seaview Heights. "Did you hear? The new girl made Victoria Harrington back down." For the first time in years, people smiled when they talked about the millionaire's wife, smiled with something dangerous. Hope. But Victoria didn't back down. She declared war. She started digging into Lily's life like a predator scenting blood. Spread rumors that Lily was stealing tips. Made anonymous calls to the cafe owner claiming Lily was unreliable. Had her friends leave bad reviews online. Tips dried up. Shifts got cut. Anonymous notes appeared in Lily's locker. "Leave town or regret it." After one particularly brutal shift, Lily hid in the storage room and finally broke. She called her grandmother, voice cracking as tears fell. "I don't know if I can do this, Gran. She's trying to destroy me." Her grandmother's frail voice came through the phone. "Baby girl, people like that only have power if you give it to them. You've got a heart bigger than her whole mansion. Don't let her dim it." Lily wiped her tears and nodded, even though no one could see. "I won't let her break me." What nobody knew, not even Lily, was that Edward Harrington had been in the cafe that rainy day. Sitting in the corner, disguised in a simple jacket and baseball cap. He'd watched the entire scene unfold. Watched his wife's cruelty. Watched Lily's quiet courage. And something inside him that had been dead for years stirred. he started coming to the cafe more often. Always incognito, always ordering black coffee. Lily noticed him eventually, the quiet man who left generous tips and never complained. One slow evening, she wrote on his cup, "Even storms pass, smile today." He looked up, really looked at her, and something passed between them. Recognition. Two lonely souls seeing each other across a crowded room. They started talking. Small things at first. The weather. Her dreams of art school. His regrets about choices made long ago. He never mentioned being married. She never asked. But Victoria noticed her husband coming home later, smiling at his phone. She hired a private investigator. Meanwhile, Lily's life became a tightrope walk. Victoria's campaign intensified. Now customers gave her dirty looks. Some even refused to be served by her. But a few loyal ones rallied. The elderly couple came back weekly just to sit in her section. A local artist started leaving encouraging notes. Edward's visits became the bright spot in Lily's darkening world. Late-night walks on the beach, where he'd actually listen her talk about losing her mom, about painting sunsets that made her feel connected to something bigger. He'd share fragments of his own emptiness without ever saying Victoria's name. The attraction grew slowly, painfully. Stolen glances, brushing hands when passing coffee. Moments where the world fell away and it was just them. Then came the annual Seaview Gala, the event of the season where Victoria planned her final strike. Lily was working as extra staff, wearing a borrowed black dress that made her look like she belonged among the elite. Victoria cornered her near the champagne table, voice dripping venom. "You think you can play in my world, little girl? I'll ruin you. Your job, your reputation, everything." Lily's heart pounded, but she met Victoria's eyes steadily. "Maybe it's time someone stood up to you." Across the room, Edward watched, his face paling as he realized what was happening. The tension was electric. The entire town holding its breath. The gala ballroom sparkled under crystal chandeliers, but the air crackled with something far more dangerous than champagne bubbles. Victoria Harrington, draped in a blood-red gown and diamonds that caught every light, had finally cornered Lily near the dessert table. Her voice sliced through the music like a blade. "You insignificant little waitress," she hissed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "You think you can waltz into my town, flirt with what's mine, and get away with it? You're nothing but a cheap gold digger chasing a married man." Gasps rippled outward. Phones lifted discreetly. Every eye in the room turned to Lily, standing there in her simple borrowed dress, tray balanced perfectly despite the earthquake inside her chest. Lily's heart hammered, but she didn't crumble. Instead, she set the tray down slowly, met Victoria's glare, and spoke with a calm that silenced the whispers. "If caring about someone's happiness makes me a gold digger, then what does threatening people's livelihoods make you? The queen of empty threats." A few stifled laughs escaped. Victoria's face flushed crimson beneath her perfect makeup. She stepped closer, voice rising to a shriek. "How dare you? I'll destroy you. Your job, your future, everything." That's when Lily did something no one expected. She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen twice, and held it up for the crowd to see. On it was a digital sketch she'd doodled during a quiet shift. Victoria portrayed as an over-the-top peacock, feathers exploding in rage, tiny crowns slipping off her head, beak open in a comical squawk. The first chuckle came from a businessman in the back. Then a socialite covered her mouth to hide a giggle. Within seconds, the laughter spread like wildfire. Someone zoomed in and snapped a photo. Another forwarded it. By the time Victoria realized what was happening, the caricature was already blowing up group chats across Seaview Heights. For the first time in her adult life, the woman everyone feared looked utterly ridiculous. Victoria stood frozen as the laughter swelled around her. Her empire of terror cracked wide open in that moment. She fled the ballroom in tears, heels clacking frantically, leaving behind a room buzzing with shocked delight. Outside on the terrace, under a sky full of stars, Edward found Lily moments later. His face was pale, eyes filled with a mix of guilt and wonder. "I saw everything," he said quietly. "You were incredible." Lily shook her head, voice trembling now that the adrenaline was fading. "I didn't mean to humiliate her. I just couldn't let her hurt anyone else." Edward reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. You've been the only real thing in my life for months, Lily. My marriage to Victoria ended years ago. We just never admitted it. But meeting you, you've shown me what actual care feels like. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. But you're still married. And I never wanted to be the other woman. You're not. He promised fiercely. I'll end it properly. No more hiding. You deserve everything out in the open. The weeks that followed were chaos wrapped in transformation. The peacock meme exploded online. Queen Peacock trended locally for days. Old stories poured out. Every person Victoria had ever intimidated finally felt safe sharing their truth. Invitations stopped arriving at the Harrington mansion. Staff quit. Her once loyal friends suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Victoria locked herself in her sprawling home, staring at walls lined with portraits of a life that no longer existed. One night, alone with a bottle of wine and crumbling pride, she finally broke completely. Sobs racked her body as she looked at old photos of a younger self smiling beside Edward, back when love had felt possible. The fear she'd wielded like armor had isolated her completely. Meanwhile, Edward filed for divorce. Victoria fought it first, leaking twisted stories to gossip sites, claiming Lily had seduced him for money. The headline stung. Customers at the cafe whispered. Lily's grandmother worried over video calls. One especially painful night. Lily packed a small bag and took the first bus back to her Midwest hometown. She needed space to breathe, to care for her grandmother whose health was declining, to figure out if love was worth this much pain. Edward followed 3 days later. He showed up at the modest farmhouse doorstep in the pouring rain, soaked through, holding nothing but flowers picked from the roadside and a look of pure determination. I sold the yacht, he said simply when she opened the door. Donated half the proceeds to your grandmother's medical fund. The rest is going toward your art gallery dream, whether you're with me or not. Lily stared at him, rain dripping from his hair. Why? Because real love doesn't destroy people. It builds them up, and you've built me back into someone I actually recognize. Her grandmother, watching from the living room, smiled knowingly and whispered, "Let the boy in, honey. He's dripping on my porch." They talked until dawn, honest, raw words about fear, guilt, hope, and healing. When Lily finally stepped into his arms, the rain felt like absolution. Back in Seaview Heights, something unexpected happened. Victoria signed the divorce papers without contest. Tucked inside was a handwritten note. You both win. Find the happiness I never could. She sold the mansion, moved into a small coastal cottage, and quietly started a foundation supporting women escaping controlling relationships, channeling her strength into something meaningful for the first time. Lily's art gallery opened 6 months later on the waterfront. Her seascapes, stormy skies giving way to golden light, sold out on opening night. Edward stood proudly beside her, no longer hiding. Her grandmother, healthier and beaming, cut the ribbon. The town that once trembled at Victoria's name now nodded respectfully when she walked past, volunteering at local events with quiet dignity. And on a quiet beach at sunset, exactly 1 year after the gala that changed everything, Edward knelt in the sand with a simple ring and words that needed no wealth to prove their worth. Marry me, Lily, not because I can give you the world, but because you are my world. Through happy tears, she whispered yes. Because sometimes the most feared hearts are the ones most in need of kindness. Sometimes standing up to cruelty opens doors to unexpected love. And sometimes looking ridiculous is the first step toward becoming real. In the end, true care doesn't come from power or money. It comes from courage, the ridiculous, beautiful courage to choose love over fear every single day.